Hi, everybody. Welcome back to our podcast today.
Hi, everyone. We missed last week.
We did, yeah, which is rare because I feel like we don't usually miss them.
We don't. We had a rough week of sickness.
It's the kid sickness. I know we've talked about it on this podcast before, but whenever it happens, it's like this new world of kid sickness again. It's new territory all of a sudden again.
Yeah, we're surprised by it. We're like, oh, this is terrible. What's happening here?
Yeah. Why is this so hard? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So we missed it.
Yeah, so we apologize for that.
And our producer was away, Alex.
He missed it too.
He missed it too.
Yeah.
No, we pre-recorded them. It was us. Let's take ownership here. But today's topic, I think it's a good one. It's a striking topic.
Yeah.
One shift that will transform your healing from mind-body concerns.
Okay, so that's a lot of pressure on the shift, Tanner.
There is. But the shift's meant to take the pressure off.
Okay. Okay.
It is, and I'll get to that in a second. But here's the shift, and I made this early on.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't that intentional for me, to be honest. I don't want to take credit that I intentionally made this shift. I think it just happened really naturally early on in my healing, where for a lot of people, it takes a while to get here. But the shift was this. Instead of focusing on making my pain or symptom go away, I focused on sending cues of safety to my nervous system.
Right. And I like that you say that this is something you found early on, because I think people find it at different points in their journey, and it's not always easy to kind of discover or look at it in this lens.
No, because the reason we're doing the mind-body healing, the reason you're listening to this podcast right now, the reason you read, The Way Out 50 times or whatever mind-body book it is, the reason we do that is to try and make the pain and symptom go away. That's what we're looking for. And now I believe that people can discover healings about so much more than that over time. And I've gotten so much from it compared to that, which and I think our relationship has gotten so much from that journey besides the pain and symptoms going away. Yeah. But that's the focus for people early on, is making it go away. Using these strategies, whatever one it is, right? Let's just huck somatic tracking at it over and over again, trying to make this shift. But a big thing that I learned early on was I understood, as Alan Gordon talks about, that pain is a danger signal.
Right.
And if that's the case, in a really simplistic understanding, then the solution becomes safety. Now, that's going to look different person to person, and we're going to talk about that today. But one thing that I really focused on early on was sending my nervous system cues of safety.
Couldn't somebody be sending their nervous system cues of safety to make the pain go away?
Yeah.
So how do you kind of rework that? Because I think a lot of people, that is their goal. That's why they're talking to you. That's why they're watching these videos or listening to this podcast, like you're saying, to make the pain go away. So it's looming there. It's lingering.
It is.
And I think this is something that people struggle with a lot.
Yeah. And I think it's around short-term, long-term. Thinking about it like this. In the short run, we want to send cues of safety to our nervous system. That needs to be the focus, so that the long-term goal of the pain or symptoms reducing can occur. And that's what we're looking for over time.
Okay, so that doesn't have to completely disappear.
No.
It's just in the background.
It's in the background, and we need to put it as a long-term thing so that there isn't this intensity and pressure. Yeah. And then we end up just sending cues of danger to our nervous system more and more. And that's going to escalate the pain and symptoms.
Yeah. And I like to think of that as the unintentional cues of danger, because I don't think anyone is trying to do that.
No. And I think for a lot of people with mind-body issues, we're stuck in survival mode.
Yeah.
So the reason neuroplastic pain and symptoms is occurring is because we are stuck in survival mode. And so we've talked about, on this podcast, on my YouTube channel, we've talked lots about Polyvagal Theory. And real brief summary, in case people haven't heard that. You have 3 systems going on.
Tanner's favorite is Polyvagal Theory, a little bit.
Everyone knows
No one knows that.
Yeah, Anne knows this. It's like every conversation.
And it's definitely good, but that's right. I think you've learned, you've taken a lot from it.
I have. And I think there's a lot to get from that perspective and that understanding of our nervous system, because polyvagal theory, when we understand what it actually is, it's the science of your nervous system. It's the science of safety and connection.
Yes.
And so really briefly, you got 3 systems at play.
Yeah.
You got ventral vagal, which we'd all pay to be in. You feel safe, you feel connected, you feel socially engaged, calm, at ease. You got sympathetic, which most people know what this is. That's when you're mobilized. And it's not just fight or flight, but there's mobilization going on. Like right now, we're talking.
Yes.
There's some sympathetic energy happening in both of our systems. And I'm a hand talker, as many people pointed out on my YouTube channel.
As am I.
Yeah, I know. We talk with our hands. We're waving our hands around. So we're sorry for that. That's, I've been doing that for a long time. But it's hard to change. But we have sympathetic, mobilize. And if we go far enough in, you got fight or flight. And then you have dorsal vagal. So the dorsal vagal system is when basically your nervous system is detecting extreme cues of danger. And for a lot of people, trauma will go into this system,
right,
where we shut down, in despair, hopeless, helpless, dissociative, numb. And so for a lot of people with neuroplastic pain or mind-body issues, what's happening is cues of danger being constantly sent.
Yes.
So there's this overactivation of either high sympathetic or high dorsal vagal. And we get trapped in that. And so what we need to do is send cues of safety to our nervous system.
So is it almost like fighting it with, not fighting it, but like throwing cues of safety at it, because there's been so many cues of danger. So it's like, oh, okay, we need cues of safety in here.
Yeah. And of course, we want to get more comfortable with that high sympathetic charge with the dorsal vagal place, because we want to be able to attend to all sensations in our body. Most therapies, somatic therapies, that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
We want to create safety with those systems, but we also want to learn the opposite. We want to learn, what are the cues of safety, and not just random ones, and I do some of these Instagram posts, so I can't say that I don't do these Instagram posts, try these cues of safety or whatever it is.
You totally do these. I don't even know. He does these. I don't even know what you're talking about.
I know. I do them. And but here's the reality is it's unique for every single person.
Right.
Because every person's nervous system has developed very uniquely based on their life.
Yeah.
Positive or negative experiences. Moments of safety in your life that have lasted for long periods of time. Moments of extreme danger where there's maybe been trauma or abuse. Like everyone's nervous system is developed differently. And that's important to know, because everyone's nervous system then is going to have different cues of safety taking place.
Well, and I think that's a hard one for people if they haven't been experiencing or exploring cues of safety. And so they've been so much kind of in the cues of danger and understanding, okay, it's unique to me, but then what are they? Because I've had a lot of people ask for those cues of safety too. Like, what do people do? What are the cues of safety, or what can help? And yeah, we can give out ideas, but it can be overwhelming to be like, I don't know what my cues of safety are.
Yeah. And it takes awareness.
Yeah.
And so we do need to be aware of our nervous system, and we need to be aware not of just what triggers the dorsal shutdown or what triggers the sympathetic, because we all know what triggers are. This is exactly what I explained. There are moments where your nervous system detects cues of safety often.
Yeah. And
those are unique. We understand that. And we need to understand that. We need to understand what are our triggers, what's triggering these systems, because that shows us where work needs to be done. But Deb Dana talks about glimmers. I love the term glimmers.
Triggers and glimmers.
Yeah, I love the term glimmers. It's so fun to say. I don't know why.
You actually look so happy.
I'm having a glimmering moment right now.
Oh my gosh.
I am. Anyway, it was a moment I just had.
The glimmering moment just made you just get lost in it right now. Yeah,
I lost cognition there.
Good.
But the glimmers are going to be different for every person.
Yeah. So okay, what is a glimmer then?
So a glimmer is a small moment of safety, connection, happiness, joy that we experience. Mm-hmm. These small moments, like the one I just had a second ago. Yeah. And they are unique. So I give you one about me that we've talked about before, but this is a unique glimmer, and it doesn't make cognitive sense. And I think that's important to know. It doesn't need to make logical sense.
So that's the okay. You're giving people okay.
Yes, because what you cognitively think makes sense, creates safety, may not be what your nervous system actually agrees with. Okay. Deb Dana talks about this a lot, and I really like people to explore that because you're going to feel it differently than what you logically think will make sense. So here's one that doesn't make logical sense of why it creates safety for my system. Now, in the morning, I'm more often than ventral. I am. I'm more often calm. You know, I'm excited. Like I'm excited for my day. Especially when everyone's sleeping in the house. It's just me and our puppy Darla.
So you're like in ventral when we're not.
That sounds harsh, but
I get that. It's like your quiet time.
It's like this quiet time. Yeah. It's just my time.
Yeah.
Come 5 o'clock, and we're feeding our kids. We're refusing to eat.
You mean six?
Yeah, whatever. Like, later in the day.
Yeah.
You know, I've worked all day. We are now feeding our kids. You know, kids are refusing to eat.
Yeah.
Our puppy just peed on the floor. Like all these things are happening.
Yeah.
It's not a glimmering moment for me. But one thing can shift that a lot for me, and I try to do this when I can, is if I can come home and shower quick before even the kids come home, it just shifts me in a major way.
Which is so interesting to me. I feel like you've just kind of started at least communicating that, maybe not discovering that, but I understand that a bit more about you now.
Yeah.
But when did you start realizing that was like a glimmer for you or a shift for you?
I've known it for a long time.
Yeah.
Like even early in my healing years ago. But I think it's become even more and more apparent now that I've just developed more like autonomic, like nervous system awareness.
Yeah.
How drastic the shift is. Because I feel it. Like I can feel myself moving to this safe and connected place. And that's what I mean by it's a cue of safety for my system. It doesn't make logical sense.
Right.
Why? And it's not a long shower. It's not like I'm showering for half an hour. I shower pretty quick. Like it's a 5-minute shower.
Yeah.
But there's something about it that just sends cues of safety to my nervous system.
One thing I want to pipe in that actually as a partner's perspective, now that I know that, I don't fight it. Before, I think I used to be like, oh, why are you going to shower? We're in the midst of chaos right now. Yeah. But now that I know that what this does for you, I support you in that. I understand that. Yes. And it works in our partnership too.
And it does. And we understand that when these cues of safety happen on either of our ends, everyone in the house is more in connection.
Yeah.
We are more able to function as a parenting team. Like there is so many benefits to that.
Right.
Right. And it's important for people to learn that in relationships with others, so that people aren't, fighting you on your cues of safety. Yeah. Like we need to communicate that with the people, especially if we live with them, so they understand like we need this. Like my nervous system needs this to create feelings of safety throughout the day.
And I think with cues of safety, you mentioned throughout the day, and we want that. Like we want to compile different cues of safety in our day that either we know are coming or we can rely on or we can go to.
Yeah. And what is the analogy that she uses? Deb Dana talks about like the soup of the day. It's interesting. And that can be made up of cues of danger or cues of safety. Okay. But we want, like, what are the important ingredients?
Like we want a safety soup.
Yeah, we want a safety soup.
I understand.
I love that you call it a safety soup.
That's great. What you're getting to.
This is what I'm getting to, but I wasn't going to call it that. That's great.
Oh.
The safety soup. And we want to know, like, what are the ingredients that make up this safety soup?
Some of them we can't control. What if like a danger ingredient like sneaks
we
in
can't
there?
Control, like triggers sometimes happen randomly.
Work
but
triggers.
There are things that, of course, but there are things that we can have control. And we're not going to force our nervous system to change, but we can give it the right conditions.
For you then, if you had a daily safety soup, what is your favorite soup?
My favorite soup. I love that this
is
where
I like thinking of it this way. It's kind of a fun way to view it.
We take notes.
We've gone off of our notes.
But the safety soup was not on the notes. This is uncharted territory.
But I think this is a great way to think of it, though. It's the way I'll remember it. I'll wake up and be like, okay, what's my soup for today?
What's my safety soup?
So if you had a typical safety soup, what is in that for you, Tanner?
Yeah, so there's things that are important to me. Like if I can wake up, and I do wake up early, but if I can wake up at 5 or 5:30, and that's pretty natural for me. If I find if I sleep in longer, I feel rushed and it doesn't help. But if I can wake up at 5 or 5:30 and I can hang out with our puppy Darla and by the way, Darla's upstairs unattended right now. So this is
you're throwing that in there right now. We're letting her roam free. We're a bit nervous.
Yeah, she might be having too many glimmering moments up there. Hopefully not tearing apart our house. But if I can have some alone time with her, I can do my kind of somatic practices, somatic awareness, qigong. I need about half an hour of that.
Yeah.
If I can do that, that's important. Not every day, but I need to get my body moving.
One thing I want to note in there's a lot of research coming out and a lot of people talking about having this time in the morning time and spending that time in terms of like tending yourself in somatic practices or this to start and set up your day.
There's lots of studies to show it's most effective first thing in the morning. And that's a huge thing. Like even if I have that, even if my day becomes chaos, I notice that I'm much more regulated. There's more ventral in my system as I go, but that's important. And movement's important for me, whether it's walking or working out. Usually I organize my day on the good weeks, at least, where I have time to work out throughout my week. Kind of middle of the day. So I have a bit of a pause. And these are all little cues of safety that are important to me. Another odd one, if I have later sessions with clients, because I don't like working late. I don't. Like if it was up to me, and maybe one day it will be, I'd be off at 3. Like that'd be it. But if I drink my diet ginger ale, we drink a lot of diet ginger ale in our house. But if I can drink a diet ginger ale during those later appointments, I feel more carefree about it. I feel more at ease. And so it's an odd cue of safety again, but that's what I mean is it's unique. Now, we made a bit of a list of potential cues of safety.
Okay, so you're doing the list right now in the podcast. You do realize that when you mentioned the cues of safety list.
Yes. Yeah. So we're going to go through the list. Now, again, I want to be clear, as you're pointing out, this may not fit for everyone, but these are some cues of safety that have some research behind them. To be maybe effective.
Well, and that's good to know. So it's almost like these cues of safety have been useful for a lot of people. It's worth trying out and seeing if it resonates with you.
And it's worth trying out in different ways. Because you don't need to do it exact. Like it might be different times they work for you. There's a lot to explore here. So things like nature.
Yes, that's a big one. I think a lot of people know of that one too.
And we know of it, but our society does not support it. Like,
no.
and especially we live in Calgary, Alberta, like in the winter time, which we're moving towards. If you get up and I can get up and go to work and it still be pitch black out. I can get off work and it's getting dark already. So I have very little sunlight unless I find times between sessions and doing things to be outside and actually be in nature and have sunlight.
Well, and what does that do for you, Tanner, when you're making an effort to spend time outdoors and enjoy nature?
It naturally the level of fear within me can melt away. So there's an effect there that I think people, and everyone hears this and they're like, yeah, whatever, nature, but nature does have a big effect on our system.
Well, and you mentioned savoring a minute ago. And sometimes if we pause to savor our experience in nature, that is what can do it for us. So if we're just in nature and la-di-da, if we pay attention to our experience in nature, that's, I think, what you're talking about.
Yes. And it can just be savoring sensations in general can send cues of safety. Like those little glimmers, just being able to actually savor that experience can go a long way for us. Yeah. Now, next, stillness or quiet.
That's a tough one for people, the stillness one.
It's a tough one. It's a tough one in our house, too. We have 2 kids, 3 cats, a dog,
a hamster.
Tanner
forgets about
Don't forget about Pinky.
I feed Pinky.
Right? Yeah, we do. I appreciate that. Pinky appreciates that.
I think so.
But stillness and quiet.
Yeah.
For a lot of people, our system needs more of that.
Yes.
And we have a very fast-paced, pressureful society.
Well, and I think that's why it can be challenging. Yeah. Because we're not really used to being in the stillness. No. And so it can feel foreign when we start moving towards that.
It can. Like, it's going to feel uncomfortable at first. Yeah. But even for myself, like, I know my system needs a level of that in my safety soup.
Yeah.
It does.
I'm glad you're using that.
Oh yeah. It's we're going with it. Soothing touch. Whether it's like with a partner, whether it's just on your own, right? Give yourself a self-hug. I'm a big advocate of that. Like, our system needs soothing touch.
Yes. I like that you've talked about this a lot. Yeah, and I've talked about this with clients, and we don't usually, we don't care for ourselves in this type of way.
Yeah. And I always think about it in terms of children.
Yeah.
Like, when our son is crying about something, we're not just telling him it's okay and walking away. That would not be ideal.
Yeah.
Like, there is soothing touch. We rub his back, we give him a hug. Like, we need that. Like, that can be a big cue of safety for our system.
Yeah.
And we can provide ourselves with that, with like a self-hug or like hand on the chest.
Yes, for sure.
Play or dancing.
Yeah, you really are into the dancing.
I'm into the dancing.
Yeah.
I have a lot of dance parties in our house. But, this is a really vague thing that I'm saying with like play, but we need to find ways to incorporate that.
Yes.
Because that can be huge as well. Qigong, yoga, some type of slow movement practice.
Well, and I think something to add, because I think a lot of people engage in Qigong and yoga, but there can be such pressure or such expectation that if I do this, my pain will go away. So it's doing these things with this light and easy approach.
Yeah, we're not doing them to try and force the pain to go away. We're doing them to create safety.
Yeah.
Hot or cold showers.
So your evening kind of shower, is it hot or cold?
It's hot. Morning shower is cold, though.
I don't know how you do the cold shower.
Complete cold, like no hot. And I do it for like...
Lots of people do that. I've heard about this and like the ice bath and like people do it, and it's supposed to help regulate. Yeah. I know there's research behind it. I just don't think I could do it myself. I don't even want to try.
I got to it slowly. So I like slowly made it colder and colder. And now I do like minute and a half, 2 minutes.
Wow.
And
how do you feel when you come out of that?
I feel quite calm and energized.
Wow. Yeah, and that's what you're supposed to feel.
Yeah, and we haven't talked about toning your vagus nerve, but there's research to show that with like cold water, it really can be beneficial for our system.
Yeah.
So walking.
Yeah, and one thing I want to say about walking, like since we've gotten Darletta, our dog, I've been walking a lot more with her around the community. And before I felt kind of silly walking, and the guy was like, like around the community. But now with Darla, I'm really enjoying it, and I'm getting to know our community. I almost feel like I have a reason to be walking around our community, and I'm not feeling kind of weird about it. But it's becoming kind of safety for me.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Darla, healing all of us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Puppies.
What do we
puppies
look at?
Hey, dogs are on this list. Petting or playing with an animal.
Yes.
Which
yes.
anyone who listens to our podcast can be like, of course you suggest that. Like, yeah, we have more animals than people in our house.
I know. Yeah.
So enjoying a hot drink.
Yeah. I talk about that with a lot of people.
It's one of your favorites.
It is. And I guess for me, it is like a safety cue, but there's something about like the sensations of it, the comfort of it. And I think a lot of people can relate to this. Like they want their coffee or their tea or whatever it is. And there's a comforting to it. And so instead of just like rushing through it, really savoring it and enjoying it and leaning into it. And then feeling like, how do we emotionally feel in that experience?
Yeah. That was quite descriptive.
I was. Really, I'm very excited for my teacher.
Yeah, I know. I looked on this whole list, got through the whole thing. The one point that Anne hits on is hot beverage.
I feel excited.
Yeah. So what happens every night?
I have tea every night. The same tea. It's
English
or no. Well, I do like it's orange pico.
It's orange pico.
Mm-hmm.
I should know
obviously because I need to.
The fact that I don't know this is sad. I didn't know what type of tea you drank. I thought it was English breakfast.
Well, I do like English breakfast. But...
Let's see. Yeah. Anne has tea every night.
Yeah.
And here's what happens every night. That's not so much a glimmer. Is the tea is like half drink.
Oh.
And it's on the,
So there's too many pets in our household.
And Harry.
The cat, Harry. Cat, Harry.
Our cat.
He tries, like he'll stick his paws in the tea and he'll try to get the tea bag out. And Tanner has decided to not like warn me right away anymore. So I'll catch him doing that for like a couple minutes before I notice. And then I can't drink it anymore.
I did it. I warned you for months. Mm-hmm. But it's every night. The cat is addicted to orange pico tea.
Yeah, no.
He loves it. He digs out the bag.
Maybe that's like safe for him. I don't know.
That's Harry's glimmer.
I guess so. Yeah.
You're taking that away from Harry.
I am. Yeah, I get very upset. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this was our podcast. We're ending on that note.
Yeah.
So here's what we encourage everyone to do is really start to become aware of glimmers within your day. Like be aware of them, not just the triggers that are going on, because those can be all consuming.
Yes.
But the glimmers tell us like what are the cues of safety.
And I think we need to be open to being aware of them, like to look for them instead of fixated on the triggers.
And I mean small moments. They could be 30 seconds.
Yep.
It's important for people to understand like what the glimmers are, because once you're aware of those, you know what the unique cues of safety are for your system.
Yes.
And then healing can really open up because you can start to make your safety soup.
Yes, and intentionally of like, okay, what do I want this soup to be?
Yeah.
Because we can go through our day just being like, on the fly and see what happens, and that's okay too. But if we intentionally try to bring in these cues of safety, we know they're coming. We know to rely on them. That can create safety, just bringing that in and practicing leaning into those.
100%.
Yeah.
So thank you everyone for listening, and we will talk to you all next week.
Talk to you next time.